Our devotion for today, and probably continuing through the rest of the week, is still going to come through the Sermon on the Mount, as we find in Matthew 5 and the chapters after that. And before I jump into it, I do want to apologize for the camera shaking and the subpar lighting and anything else that's wrong with the production of this. I'm on my way out to you guys, so that's very exciting. I'm getting installed next week. But I'm also displaced at the moment. Most of our stuff is in a moving truck, and I'm recording this on the stairs outside of my brother's apartment in Tucson, because we're hanging out with him for a week before we come out to Eastvale. So, all that to be said, apologies for the camera stuff, but the word is still good. So let's get into it. Matthew 5, starting at verse 13, it says, "You are the salt of the earth, but if salt has lost its taste, how shall its saltiness be restored? It's no longer good for anything, except to be thrown out and trampled under people's feet. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden, nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a stand, and it gives light to all in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven." As for the background of this passage, you don't need a whole lot to understand it. You know what salt is, you know what light is, and Jesus is using this is a parable. He uses them a lot. The easiest definition that I've ever heard, that I kind of stick with, is parables are earthly stories with heavenly meaning, because we can't understand the things of God plainly a lot of times, but we understand the things we deal with on a daily basis. So he tells us about things of heaven using things that we'll understand. Things that we'll understand. So when he's talking about salt, you are the salt of the earth, but if salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? And for me, a stumbling block in this passage for me has always been, I always get caught up on how salt would lose its saltiness. Like, it's salt. It's defined by its saltiness. If it's not salty, it's no longer salt. And like, part of me actually thinks about, like, chemically speaking, how would one remove saltiness from salt? And as I go through this, you might think, well, that's kind of why is he spending the time in this devotion to talk about that? And it's because salt without being salt, without the action of being salty, it's not salt. You can call it salt, but if you put salt on your tongue and it tastes sweet, it's not salt. It's sugar. I don't care if you're calling it salt. It's not. And Christians are the same way. You see, if you say you're a Christian, but nothing about you reflects that, if your life doesn't change, if you don't experience that grace of Jesus Christ on a regular basis, the reality is you're Christian only in name. There's more to it, because the reality is the grace of Christ changes us. And this is why the immediately following image is light on a hill. You don't put light under a basket. You don't say I'm a Christian and then hide everything that makes Christians distinctive. So the goal behind these, the application for our lives, is that our relationship with Christ, our right relationship with Christ, that is made right through Him, that faith that's brought to us by the Holy Spirit, that changes our life. And if we call ourselves Christians, but it doesn't change what we do, who we are, then we're just Christians in name only. We're like salt that doesn't taste salty. So that's the message I have for you guys today. With that, Brothers and sisters, go in peace and serve the Lord. Thanks be to God.